No one believed humankind could breach the boundary of the known universe. The notion was dismissed as folly, science fiction, or hopeless aspiration. Yet the spark of curiosity burned too brightly, urging us to venture beyond what we had mapped and measured. Our astronomers peered ever deeper into the cosmic darkness, searching for the faintest glimmer that might hint at unknown structures or energies. Physicists postulated new dimensions and wormholes. Romantics spoke of vistas where time folded in on itself, painting the cosmos in shades hidden from our instruments. And still, we lingered tied to what we trusted, held back by the gravity of familiar stars. If not for the greatest planetary crisis we had ever faced, perhaps we would have remained tucked securely within our celestial backyard. But we grew desperate for answers to problems that confounded our brightest minds, and desperation birthed ingenuity that transformed an impossible dream into a tangible mission, Project Aurora. It began with an idea from Dr. Elena Redwood, a theoretical physicist whose work on quantum gravity defied scientific orthodoxy. She had hypothesized that beyond the cosmic horizon, beyond the boundary we knew, lay residual fields of unimaginable power. Might these fields hold clues to clean, limitless energy? Could they reshape our fundamental assumptions about life, space, and even the laws of physics themselves? Redwood had no illusions about the challenges involved. The very concept of traveling beyond the boundary was akin to stepping off the known map into uncharted territory. Laws on which humanity had built all its knowledge might cease to apply. Nevertheless, the devastation wrought by ecological collapse and resource wars had hardened our resolve, reminding us we had little to lose. With Redwood's equations in hand, humankind marshaled its greatest scientists, engineers, and explorers to design a vessel able to traverse these unknown reaches. The vessel, christened DSV Horizon, was unlike anything ever built. It incorporated exotic matter in its hull plating, gleaned from asteroid mining near Jupiter's orbit, and a propulsion system that manipulated quantum fields to bend local space-time. An array of embedded wormhole stabilizers, silver spheres humming with high-frequency resonance, lined the ship's interior corridors. Secured behind thick layers of protective alloy, Redwood's calculations indicated that if Horizon could match specific resonance patterns, it might slip through a cosmic barrier that standard models of the universe had never accounted for. This barrier was invisible to our telescopes, but Redwood's new sensor designs detected irregularities far out in the cosmic microwave background. When she presented her findings to the Council of Earth, they responded with a mixture of awe and anxiety, suspecting that what she proposed was as likely to tear the ship into subatomic threads as to guide us to new cosmic frontiers. Yet the thirst for salvation overshadowed the risks, and the Horizon was built. In a bid to reflect the magnitude of the undertaking, the Council assembled a historic crew of astronauts, scientists, medical professionals, and cultural envoys. Captain Adana Oker, renowned for her fearless missions to explore the superstorms on Saturn, took command. Redwood herself joined as Chief Science Officer. Alongside them were Dr. Jal Devor, a xenobiologist hoping to glean new understandings of life's possible permutations, and Commander Noah Lee, an experienced pilot with a near mystical affinity for navigating gravitational anomalies. The selection of cultural emissaries, historians, and artists signaled that the mission was not merely a scramble for resources, but a quest, however intangible, for meaning on a cosmic scale, a hope that touching the unknown might also touch the soul of humankind. The launch was swathed in solemn pomp and unrestrained excitement. From Earth's surface, billions gathered to watch the largest rocket ever built, the Arc XX booster, lift the Horizon into orbit. When the final stage ignited, spectators huddled together in admiration and fear. The crisp and clear anchor voices on Universal Broadcast Networks recapped the ship's mission. It would accelerate beyond the solar system, cross the Milky Way, delve into intergalactic space, then exploit Redwood's specialized quantum drive to probe beyond any known cosmic horizon. As the rocket vanished into space, Hope mingled with anxiety. People yearned to believe humanity could surpass any limitation. Others worried that, in our quest for knowledge, we might awaken forces we were unprepared to confront. Beneath star-filled skies, children asked parents what lay beyond the boundary, and parents answered with stories of new universes blooming in cosmic darkness. Upon reaching the edges of the observable universe, the Horizon's crew initiated Redwood's carefully orchestrated plan to transition across the barrier. Everywhere, sensors flickered with readings that defied established laws, gravitational eddies that warped the local vacuum, strange bursts of radiation that materialized and disappeared, quantum threads shimmering like ghostly tendrils. The ship's wormhole stabilizers glowed with a pulsating aura, their frequencies building in a complex chord that Redwood and her team struggled to harmonize. At times, the cord broke. Commander Lee wrestled with the controls, fighting against what felt like the universe itself pushing back. Pressure on the hull spiked to terrifying levels, and for one agonizing moment, it seemed the vessel would dissolve. Then Redwood found the proper resonance. A bridging field formed, encasing the ship in a protective bubble. Within seconds, the Horizon plunged forward and vanished from all known sensors back on Earth. For the crew on board, the transition evoked sensations they could not put into words. Redwood later tried to describe it in scientific terms, referencing quantum wave collapse and exotic geometric structures, but even her recordings teemed with astonishment. One moment, the starfield outside was bleak and familiar. Next, everything stretched as though reality itself were drawn thin, bursting in a silent crescendo of every color the human eye could imagine. And more. When vision returned, they found themselves adrift in a region of space tinted by shifting ribbons of lavender and indigo. Their instruments flared with data that no existing framework could parse. This was territory truly beyond the edge, with no known cosmic landmarks. Oddly, the emptiness carried a hush that felt sacred, as if they had intruded upon a realm meant to remain forever concealed. They spent days cataloging anomalies. Although space here was allegedly a void in our model, it teemed with phenomena far beyond the standard laws. Dr. Daver discovered bursts of subatomic particles assembling into fleeting patterns that could almost be called life. Redwood scanners detected hyperdense regions that flared with brief luminosity, some benign, others exuding streams of dangerous radiation. They witnessed gravity wells that were not sourced by mass in any conventional sense, but seemed to arise spontaneously, as if the fabric of space was learning new shapes. Their transmissions back to Earth, which had to be relayed through a chain of experimental wormhole relays, took days to confirm arrival. The implications shook the entire scientific community. We had been so confident in our understanding of nature's fundamental constants, but here, in the deeper layers of the cosmos, existence flowed differently. During the second week, an event occurred that the crew whispered about in hushed tones, unsure if they even dared believe their own records. A faint structure resolved on the horizon of the sensors, an outline that seemed to phase in and out, impossible to pin down with normal triangulation. A heartbeat of some unknown energy pulsed from it. Captain Oker set a course toward the phenomenon, hearts pounding through the silence. As they drew near, they unanimously realized it was no natural cosmic structure. Its curves were too elegant, its proportions suggesting deliberate design. The entire hull of the Horizon resonated with bizarre waveforms each time those arcs pulsed. It appeared to be a massive station, or gateway, shimmering with fractal geometry that twisted in upon itself whenever they tried to scan it. Every approach placed them in a swirl of contradictory signals. Electromagnetic bursts that scrambled half the instruments, gravitational anomalies yanking them side to side. Redwood theorized that the structure might exist in more than 3 spatial dimensions, projecting only a fraction of itself into this region. Had another intelligence built it? Was it still occupied, or was it a ruin from an ancient cosmic epoch? The crew debated if they should attempt contact or retreat. Ultimately, the thirst for knowledge prevailed. They launched drones equipped with the best protective shielding available. The drones hovered near the gateway, scanning, sending back flickering glimpses of impossible angles. Computer programs crashed under the torrent of data. Then the station seemed to respond. A corridor opened in the fractal facade, large enough for the Horizon to enter if they dared. They debated 16 hours in the command deck. Diver argued that to venture inside might trigger unknown defenses. Commander Lee asked if they even possessed the technology to handle an environment that defied typical space-time. Redwood's face showed a peculiar light. She insisted the station, or gateway, the threshold as they named it, offered the only hope to fully decode how this region functioned. Might it hold the secret Redwood had come all this way to find? The crew cast votes in secret. By a close margin, they chose to proceed. Carefully, the Horizon drifted closer, navigating the swirling eddies of space-time. Upon crossing the gateway, the entire vessel shuddered. Artificial gravity flickered, and lights cut in and out. Eventually, systems stabilized, but the view outside was gone. They found themselves enveloped by swirling luminescence, each swirl bursting into symmetrical patterns that felt like living mathematics. For 3 weeks, the ship floated in that bizarre environment, scanning the shapes that slid across the hull. Redwood and her team discovered that the station itself seemed to be scanning them in return. Signals were exchanged, pulses, arcs of light, and ephemeral polychromatic waves. It was as though the threshold was trying to teach them a language of geometry and resonance. Yet the bulk of the crew spent their time on edge. Repeated fluctuations in local constants threatened to unravel their life support. Oxygen generators malfunctioned under unknown stresses. Communication with Earth became a random burst of static. While the station didn't appear overtly hostile, its environment might still destroy them. Against the terrifying prospect of being forever lost, Redwood's relentless optimism guided them forward. And then, just as they readied for the possibility of never leaving, the station opened a second channel, a corridor through which the ship emerged back into a region that half resembled standard space. Awaiting them was a vision that forever changed their understanding of reality. In this new zone, stars appeared connected by shimmering threads, each star a node in a cosmic tapestry. The threads pulsed with energies that Redwood suspected were the very forces constructing reality at a deep level, strings of possibility binding separate corners of the cosmos. As they ventured further, they witnessed signs of advanced life, gargantuan structures harnessing these threads, weaving them with a purpose. Parts of these constructions glinted with mechanical surfaces. Other portions looked organic. Captain Oker and Redwood, in awe, ordered the Horizon to maintain passive scans only. Eventually, they found an outpost floating near one of these constructs, a smaller station reminiscent of the threshold but shaped differently, as if formed from protean metal and living tissue. Hesitantly, they approached. This outpost transmitted signals we could, by some miracle, interpret as an invitation. In truth, the signals were an array of frequencies that Redwood matched with the fractal language introduced by the threshold. With no easy way to confirm the station's intention, the crew again decided to proceed, half expecting to meet beings that surpassed anything in known biology. But inside, they discovered something more extraordinary, a universal library of sorts, a grand vault storing knowledge of countless civilizations that presumably had come this way. The library was not structured in digital or textual formats. It was more akin to living code. When Redwood interfaced her scanning device with the shimmering walls, the environment responded to her thoughts, generating holographic illusions. They saw alien star systems brimming with towering spires, bioluminescent jungles, crystalline cities. They saw records of advanced technology forging artificially stable wormholes, bridging galaxies in an instant. They saw the rise and fall of entire species, each leaving behind a fragment of data, a puzzle piece in the cosmic mosaic. Most startling were the references to a fundamental force that redefined existence, a consciousness field tying all life to the fabric of space-time. Redwood suspected this resonant field was possibly why their attempts at contact triggered partial responses from the station. The data suggested that advanced civilizations learned not only how to harness physical energies, but how to guide these conscious streams. Quasi-religious in tone, the logs spoke of unifying spirit and matter, harnessing cosmic empathy that allowed entire nations to exist in harmony, or else to tear themselves apart if abused. Over and over, the same theme reoccurred. Knowledge without empathy leads to devastation, but knowledge enriched by empathy ushers in new eras of collaboration. The library also hinted at a single universal origin, an event beyond what we called the Big Bang, entwined with a primordial intellect that seeded consciousness into reality itself. Time in the outpost passed strangely. Some days seemed to compress into hours, others stretched out. The entire crew began having vivid dreams, glimpses of alien worlds, voices imparting pieces of an unimaginable puzzle. Redwood soared from pure scientific wonder into an almost spiritual reverence, her once rigorous mind grappling with truths that felt intangible. Davor recorded experiences of drifting through cosmic oceans, teeming with plankton made of light. Commander Lee dreamt of alternative timelines where humanity was guided by cosmic mentors. Captain Oker, stoic as ever, wrote in her log how the library's visions felt like a test of character. People reported a growing sense of unity aboard the ship, a shared empathy that wasn't there before. Disputes lessened. Personal differences softened in the face of revelations so grand that petty rivalries melted away. Still, they had to consider a return. Earth remained behind them, waiting for word. Supplies were finite, and though the outpost seemed to offer glimpses of advanced technology, the crew feared they might not be able to integrate it without catastrophic side effects. Redwood believed that if they could record and interpret enough data, humankind would spend decades, perhaps centuries, unlocking its secrets. Motivated by that duty, the crew spent frantic days copying everything they could. Then, with no warning, the outpost dimmed. Shadows overtook its vibrant structures, as if some internal process had gone into slumber. Sensing their window was closing, Horizon left. Retracing their path was no simple matter, but Redwood found a path based on the station's geometry that led them back through the threshold. Once more, the fractal gateway sang its mysterious chord, and the Horizon crossed into the realm we recognized as beyond the boundary. From there, the quantum drive initiated, bridging the final gap home. Months had passed since they first crossed the edge, but the return trip was compressed into days, courtesy of Redwood's refined quantum manipulations. They burst into Earth's orbit like an apparition, their hull battered but intact. The world gaped in wonder. The Council demanded immediate reports. Redwood and Oker delivered a joint statement in the presence of representatives from every nation. They spoke of energy webs that let stars communicate, stations that taught geometry beyond Euclidean logic, and civilizations that existed on planes parallel to our own. But the greatest lesson was the intangible, that the cosmos is not a lifeless expanse of random forces, but a living tapestry woven from consciousness itself. Redwood offered partial data on an inexhaustible form of clean energy derived from harnessing resonant fields, the potential solution that Earth had craved. But she cautioned that the technology was intimately linked to moral and ethical practice. Improperly used, it could destabilize entire planetary ecosystems or create weapons of horrifying scope. Experts labored over the data. Nations at first bickered over how to monopolize the new knowledge. But Redwood's warnings stuck. The logs from the Cosmic Library spurred debates on the responsibilities that accompanied advanced technology. Some groups claimed the library's revelations confirmed spiritual beliefs. Others worried about losing traditional foundation. Public sentiment gradually coalesced around a novel acknowledgement that humanity was no longer an isolated phenomenon. We now knew that the laws holding our universe together were part of something more expansive, and that life, our life, all life, might be inextricably bound through a cosmic presence. Visions from the library seeped into popular culture. Artists depicted swirling star threads connecting entire galaxies. Religious commentators urged humility and gratitude. Scientists pushed for collaboration to ensure that the new energy technology would be used for healing, not conflict. Within a decade, Earth changed drastically. The first experiments with resonant energy fields provided efficient power for entire cities, cleaning the atmosphere faster than any previous attempt. Warships were decommissioned. Cooperation in science and engineering soared. Cultural exchanges multiplied as old rivalries softened. Much resisted change remained, of course, and certain factions tried to twist the knowledge to gain power. Yet the core of Redwood's discovery and the crew's experience, this notion that the cosmos itself yearned for unity, became a guiding principle. Project Aurora fulfilled its promise, not merely in the sense of crossing a boundary, but in transforming the soul of humanity. Captain Oka retired from active exploration, receiving a hero's welcome wherever she traveled. Commander Lee headed a new generation of deep space pilots, determined to send more vessels safely beyond the edge. Dr. DeVore launched a subfield of xenobiology, dedicated to life forms existing purely as patterns in quantum fields. And Redwood's, her hair gone white far earlier than expected, some claimed it was from contact with hyper-energetic fields, became an ambassador for this new cosmic perspective. She spent her latter days addressing planetary councils and scientific summits, forging alliances to ensure the knowledge gleaned from that living library continued to unify rather than fracture. At last, with Earth stabilized, attention shifted outward again. The gates Redwood discovered were not singular. Across the cosmos, other thresholds might exist, some built by civilizations long gone, some yet to be discovered. The spark of exploration rekindled, though this time tempered by wisdom. We had glimpsed a realm that transcended our understanding, seen a fraction of a vast cosmic mosaic forever weaving itself anew. And in that glimpse, we learned that what lay beyond the edge was not emptiness or danger alone, but promise. The promise that in the depths of space, where we once believed nothing existed, there awaited revelations that could remake not just our scientific paradigms, but our very sense of who we are. In the years that followed, as new expeditions set out with Redwood's guidance, more wonders were found and deeper mysteries. Yet no discovery exerted quite the same seismic impact as that first contact with the library's living code. The memory of crossing that luminous station, stepping beyond everything we once believed unshakable, continued to inspire. Children born after Project Aurora grew up with a different worldview. That collaboration and reverence for what cannot be owned are essential for survival. Humanity no longer gazed at the night sky with the same lonely gaze. We knew now that hidden among the stars lay other watchers, other travelers, and entire domains of existence that dwarfed our imagination. And so, our story continued, shaped by energies that underpinned the cosmos itself. A single mission dared to breach the boundary, returning with knowledge so potent it rewrote the future of civilization. Our technology advanced, yes, but perhaps more importantly, our hearts and minds did. We began to see ourselves as part of a galactic, maybe universal, ecology. The tapestry Redwood described was real, weaving through each star, each sentient being, binding all of us in a cosmic kinship. Through this experience, humanity realized the greatest frontier was not merely the physical universe, but the capacity for wonder, empathy, and rebirth lessons gleaned from beyond the edge, forever reshaping our place in the grand design.